Oh, you guys, welcome. Welcome back to The Wayward Widow. If you're new, hi. If you're not new, hi anyway. Beginnings and endings of any video are really weird. It's awkward. But I'm in the state of Pennsylvania. My name is Poet. And I lost my partner of 13.5 years. I lost him in February 27th of this year. He was 71 years old in 5 months, and he died of a disease called MSA, multiple system atrophy, and he was sick for more than 4 years, and the last 5 days of his life he was on hospice. So I'm the one left behind, what I call the one left behind. And I'm in our 2-bedroom apartment on the 2nd floor. This is my 5th year here. This is the first time I've lived alone since I was in my 20s. So I'll be 65 next month. So we're talking 40 some years that I haven't been alone. It's been really hard. But one of the really beautiful people that subscribed to the channel asked if I would talk about anticipatory grief. And I will, and I am, and that's what this video is going to be about. What I was feeling and what I went through, and, you know, as much as I can put into words, because it's really hard to explain what this feels like. So Jerry, I saw in the comments, your replies to me, you signed it Jerry. So Jerry, this is for you and your husband. And first off, I want to say congratulations on 42 years of marriage. I mean, that's amazing and wonderful. And it's like every morning when you get up, you choose to love someone. So for 42 years, you and your husband have chose to love each other. And I love that. I love that. You explained what he's going through physically. Whenever there's a breathing issue, there's going to be anxiety. Whenever there's a sickness, there's going to be anxiety. But I know, like, if I have a panic attack and I feel like I'm not breathing well, I'm more anxious because I feel like I'm not breathing well. So I'll tell you what I went through, what I found was important, and what made this, I can't use words like easier, but I don't know what else to come up with, but made things flow a little bit smoother. And I don't know, like, what stage your husband is at, or like anything about your circumstances other than what you shared in your comment. So I'll just give you my story as much in a nutshell as I can, my story with Sky. So Sky started having symptoms of MSA in probably about 2018. I noticed he had some twitching, like twitching in his pinky finger on his right hand. And it looked like a Parkinson's thing to me. But he said it was, you know, just anxiety from work. And we left it go at that. At the end of 2022, the end of 2020, around Thanksgiving, he got the big COV. He was working in a job that was a must-do. You know, he worked for Lowe's. So the Lowe's stores were kept open. They were essential workers. And so he was working every day full-time. He got sick. He was here at home. He never needed to be hospitalized. But he couldn't walk. He started having trouble almost immediately walking and his balance. And time went on. He was out of work all of December of 2020, all of January 2021, half of February 2021. He went back to work for 6 weeks. Early April, he went for his jab. You know, the jabs were happening, so we got him an appointment, and he went for the jab. Went back to work the next day, or went back to work the same day, and because he had left work, went up, got the jab, went back to work. The next day, he was not so great. He was having more trouble with his balance. He was having brain fog. He was having confusion. And he collapsed in the parking lot of his place of employment. Some passerbys helped him, got his phone, called me. I was in the parking lot waiting to pick him up, but I was like 2 rows over. So I got him home. The police even showed up to do a welfare check because someone had called 911. And, I explained that he had been sick with, and he had got the jab, and they said, if he needs the hospital, call 911. But he said he didn't want to go to the hospital. He was okay. And, but from that day on, he could not work. So he resigned from work. It was like April 8th of 2021. And he just progressed every week or every month. His disease progressed. The doctor, his PCP, kept saying it was long haulers. And he went to a neurologist. He was sent to a neurologist. He had a CAT scan twice on his head to make sure it wasn't a tumor, to make sure there wasn't a bleed, to make sure, there was nothing. But they said that his brain was more atrophied than normal for his age. The doctor said this is falling under the Parkinson umbrella, and they just stuck with long haulers. The neurologist, the same thing. We were there twice, same thing. Well, we're going to go with what the PCP says. It was frustrating because he was just getting worse. He was falling a lot. He probably fell twice in the parking lot of the grocery store. He fell at work. He fell here in our parking lot once. He fell on our steps twice. He fell up here in the apartment 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 times. His balance was horrible. So I finally talked him into a walking stick. He wouldn't use a cane. He was very stubborn with devices until he knew he needed help. So I got him a walking stick, and then I bought a second walking stick because we were trying everything so that he was able to walk up to the grocery store with me and take a walk around the block, and we tried, and he tried. But his balance was so off. He said he described it as walking on water. So I would walk alongside of him. I would hold on to his arm. Sometimes that helped him. Sometimes it didn't help. It made it worse. And every week, I just waited to see what else was going to happen because he just kept getting worse. More symptoms, more signs, more things. His hands twitching, his hands locking up. Towards the end, his vision changed. He couldn't see well. Everything he was seeing in triple. He had bouts of dementia. He had bouts of anger. He couldn't smell. He couldn't swallow all of his food. He couldn't hold a cup, couldn't hold a utensil. At the end, couldn't feed himself. There was, it just progressed and progressed and progressed. By, I would say probably June of 2023 was the last time I was able to take him up to the doctor. After that, I could not get him out of the apartment because we're on the 2nd floor, and he was not able to take the steps. He could not go up and down the steps. We had every safety device put in the house that we could have in the apartment. A second railing was put on the stairs to go downstairs. More safety bars in the shower. You name it, we did it. Every single thing I could buy, I bought. So here's what I found. The first thing I'm going to say is that the paperwork is really important. A will, an advance directive, power of attorney. We were seeing dementia in him. He would say things like, I'm not myself. Like I can't, he he lost all of his short-term memory. And like he could pick up on it, that he knew that something was starting to change. So a year before he died, he said, I want to go to a lawyer and get paperwork. So we went, and we both got wills, we both got health directives, and I got power of attorney for him. He said, I want you to do power of attorney for me. So we got that done, and then when that got done, he was very specific with his health directive. He said he wanted no extra medical intervention. When it was his time, he wanted no pain. He wanted no pain. That was his big thing, no pain. After we got that done, he told me to call a funeral home, and we did a pre-planned, pre-pay cremation for him. He wanted a green burial, but I would have needed to get his body down to Tennessee to get that done, and that financially was not doable. So he settled on cremation. He talked with the funeral director. He told her everything he wanted and didn't want. He was very specific. So that was paid for. That was done. We got a little card with a phone number on as to when the number we call when he passes. Now at that point, the doctor was still saying long haulers, something under the Parkinson. He added Parkinsonism. I was taking little video clips of Sky's walking, and we were taking pictures of his hands and his feet, how his toes curled completely under his feet. Anything that we could get to the doctor to show that there was all these changes. So we would talk to the doctor on the phone once a month, and Sky knew he was not going to make it. Christmas 2023, he said to me, this is my last Christmas. And I said, no, you'll be around a while. And the doctor had, in October of 23, said, put in paperwork 6 months or less. And Sky heard him say that on the phone. And that was for us to be able to get hospice in for when we needed it. And so Sky was kind of like fixated on the 6 months or less. And in January, he said to me, how many months has it been? And I said, what, since the doctor said that? And he said, yeah. And I said, it's been, you're in your 4th month. And he said, I'm going to die soon. And I said, no, you're not going to die soon. That's data and statistics. So like, he knew his body was changing. Like he knew things I didn't know. Because from the moment we're born, our body prepares to die. Each year that we get older and older, our body changes and ages and prepares to die. Like our body knows what to do to die. And so he was feeling it, like he knew. But I couldn't accept it. So I'm on disability for anxiety, generalized anxiety, severe, and panic attacks, severe. So I was already anxious and panicky, but I also was a certified nurse aide for years and years and years, and I worked in a hospital in a trauma unit. So, I went right into CNA mode. Anything medical that I could do for him, I was like on top of all of it. I did all of his vitals every day. I checked his oxygen. I checked his blood pressure. I checked his temperature. Everything I could do. I relayed everything to the doctor, all of his vitals. And I would ask him, how are you feeling? I didn't want to mother him, anything he could do on his own, I wanted to have him do on his own so that, he felt like he was doing something. It got to a point where he could no longer stand. He could no longer pull himself up. He could no longer stand upright. He could no longer go to the bathroom. We needed to make all the changes. And I was in a fog, I think. I kept thinking medical. Like, I was just so fixated on the medical part of how do I keep this man comfortable, that I totally forgot that I even existed. I wasn't hydrating well. I wasn't eating hardly at all. I dropped down to 88 pounds, and I was the only one taking care of Sky. It was just me and Sky. And I was turning him, propping him, pulling him up with a draw sheet and all. And I just was focused on his health and how I can keep this man alive. And I was bound and determined not to think that he was going to die. Like in my mind, I thought there's no way he's going to die. Not anytime soon, anyway. This disease, they say 6 to 10 years is the time frame. I knew he was well into 5 years, but I kept thinking, okay, he's going to make it longer. Like, I think I was in denial. He was not in denial. And I would get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and I would go out in the living room to very quietly to check on him. And I was always so scared because I didn't know if he was going to be alive or not. And, you know, if I couldn't hear him breathing, I would go over to him and I would just gently wake him, and I would make sure he had something to drink and ask him if he was okay, and, you know, was he in any pain and that kind of thing. And I would change him if he was wet, and just, you know, the medical things. And I would give him lots of hugs and lots of kisses, and, you know, tell him I love him, and, you know, you're going to be okay. He kept saying he was afraid to leave me because he knew that there was going to be a lot of issues for me financially when he died. He knew there was going to be a big financial change. We would go from 2 checks to 1 check. And he knew what the rent was here, and he knew that it was going to be hard. And he just didn't want to leave, period. You know, he kept telling me, like, I lived a long life. I did everything I wanted to do. Like, he was at peace. He just said, "Poet, promise me no pain." Sometimes when I was having trouble moving him, he would say, do you want to put me in a nursing home? Like, do you think we should do that? And I said, no, that's never going to happen. It's never, ever going to happen. You're right. This is your home. This is where you're going to stay. And like I said, like, he knew, and there was only one time that he broke down in tears, like hard, that I saw him. And he said he was crying because he didn't want to leave me. And he knew he was going to leave me. And that was really hard on both of us. And then I started to really think, like, this man isn't going to make it. But I couldn't face it. I just kept doing everything I needed to do. I stayed focused on his health, his emotional health, and his physical health. I didn't have a circle of people around me. I didn't have a huge circle of people around me. He has 2 sons, and they came to see him a year before he died, February of 2023, the end of February. And what's very ironic is that the day that they left, they were here for 3 days. One came in from Texas, one from California. The day that they left was February 27th, 2023. He died February 27th, 2024. And his one son said to him, because they knew he was very ill, and his son said, I'm glad that we're here, Dad, because this might be the last time we get to see you. And sure enough, it was, because exactly 1 year later, as they walked out the door, he died. And I would lay in bed at night and cry. I never wanted to cry in front of him. My goal through the whole thing was he comfortable? Was he okay? Was the doctor hearing me? I was the pipeline to the doctor. I kept pushing the doctor for a diagnosis. I would write down every single change that happened. And finally, in December of 2023, I said something that piqued the doctor's interest. And I said, he's turning to stone. It felt like his arms and his legs were turning to stone. Like moving him was, it got to be impossible on my own. And I felt like if I even moved his arms, that I would break his arms. That's what it felt like. When I kept saying he's turning to stone, the doctor finally called and said after that, like within an hour, poet, I know what he has. He has MSA. His MSA, multiple system atrophy. And there's no cure, and there's no medicine for it. So he was on Ativan, and he was on a stomach medicine. He was on Zofran for nausea. And he just got worse and worse. The night before he died, he was alert. The night before he went into a coma, he was alert. And he ate a little bit and took his pills. And the next morning, he got very sick in his stomach, and he slipped into like a coma-like state. And that's when hospice came in, and they were here for the last 5 days. Those 5 days of hospice are like a blur for me. I remember signing the papers. I remember us waiting for the courier to bring the medicine, the hospice box, so to speak. He was on Ativan and morphine. No oxygen because he didn't want any of that. And a nurse would come every day for an hour and help me to clean him and change him and pull him up in bed. And then they would leave, and I was on my own, and it was up to me to give him his meds as scheduled. And I just remember thinking, like, this isn't real. This isn't happening. This isn't real. It was like I was walking in a cloud or in a fog. Sometimes I would panic so bad that I would just shake and I would just break down, and I wouldn't know what to do. I would sit on the edge of his bed. I would just hold his hand. I would tell him I love him, and it still didn't sink in. And then he died the night of February 27th, and I remember sitting for the last couple of hours as he went through agonal breathing. And I'm thinking, like, this is it. This is it. And after I called the nurse and she came over and did what she needed to do, she called the coroner, she called the funeral home, she got all the meds together to take out. She helped me dress him. And then the funeral guys came in and they wrapped him all up. And they were very kind in saying to me, is it okay with you if we cover his face? And I said it is. And so they covered his face, and they carried him out. I took out his earring, and I have it in my ear, and I took his wedding ring off his finger because I wanted that. And then he was gone, and the nurse said, do you have anyone with you? And I said, that can be with you. And I said, no, because I didn't. And she said, are you going to be okay? And I said, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. And then I just came back up into the apartment, and I don't know. I wasn't thinking anything. Everything was just blank. And then for the next month, I went into busy mode. All the paperwork, all the phone calls, all the emails, all the everything. And then the next month after that, the realization hit. All of the, oh my God, he's gone, The day I got his ashes, a week after he died, I got his ashes. he was cremated 5 days after they carried him out. And when I got his ashes, and I'm just looking at the ashes, and I'm thinking, this is crazy, you know? So I don't know how I held it together. Part of me is really glad I was a CNA because I could focus on the medical, but I could also love him at the same time. But what I didn't do was take care of myself. So I'm going to ask you to please take care of yourself. Make sure you're hydrated and make sure you're eating. Put the oxygen mask on yourself first so you can take care of your husband, okay? If there's anybody you can talk to, if you have, get your circle around you and your husband. If he is a talker, if he has anyone he can sit with him. I don't know if you belong to a church or what that situation is. If there's family that can come and, be there with you guys. What your rapport is with your doctor. Ask all the questions you need to ask, and don't stop asking until you get all the answers. And you yourself, make sure you're talking to your doctor. Make sure you're okay. And know that everybody's going to go through this differently. Sometimes I just didn't believe it was going to happen. Other times I was just in tears. And and now it's been almost 5 months, and I still don't know what I'm feeling. 1 minute I'm like, okay, I can do this. The next minute it's like, I can't do this. The 1 minute I'm, okay, I need to go grocery shopping. I go do that. Next minute I'm like, I can't even breathe. It's a constant up and down. And you're going to hear that from everybody who's going through this. So you started grieving the minute he got diagnoses. And he started grieving. We start grieving way earlier than we even realize we do. Because the moment you get a diagnosis, the moment that there's something wrong, we start that process. It just looks different, So I would say, get your paperwork done, get all of your supplies, anything you need for your husband, and keep everything handy. Keep everything as easy as possible. If somebody could bring groceries for you or whatever, anything to take the burden off you, do that. Have people around you. If you have a circle, take advantage of talking to people, and know that you're going to feel 100,000 different emotions every single day, and so is he. It's scary because you don't know what is next. For Sky, because he was so adamant and he was so exact with what he wanted, it made it a little bit easier on me to know that I was doing everything he wanted. But that doesn't mean after the fact that I didn't second guess everything also. So, we go through that too because we're human. I'm going to say prayers for you, for your husband. I'm going to ask people in the comments to pray for you guys and send positive vibes, because you're going through a really tough time, and so many of us have and will. Everybody at some point is going to go through this, some kind of loss. Everyone is going to experience some kind of loss, and we all experience it differently. So if you want to talk to me separately from here on YouTube, if you have Facebook, use your Facebook Messenger, and reach out to me through Messenger under Poet Quinn, Quinn, or you can email me at poetmoon10@gmail.com if you want to talk to me separate. Okay. Some of the people that I talk to have my phone number, and we could text, or if you need to talk on the phone, I'll do that with you. I'm starting to get beyond my phone phobia, and I'm starting to reach out and talk with a few people, one at a time. So if you need that, if you think that would help you, I'll definitely do that for you. Absolutely. It would be an honor. It would be an honor. I'm so sorry you're experiencing this, and your hubby's gone through this. I'm so sorry. After watching what Sky went through, I think about myself and I wonder what it's going to be like for me. What am I going to go through? You know, what's going to be my thing? And my son has 3 health diagnoses that are chronic, and he's only 35. And nobody gets out of this. It's a different story for everyone. But I've learned that having people around me, right now it's my YouTube family. All the sister widows that I've met, and a few really nice guys that are widowers that have reached out, that just need somebody to talk to. They just lost their wives. It's really hard. There's a lot of tears. And but be as prepared as you can. Even at the bank, Sky had me listed at the bank as POD, payable on death, that if he had any money in the account, I could get it once he died. There was no money because Social Security took it. But also, I needed to be POA, power of attorney, at the bank, which is separate from POA with the lawyer, because once he died, I was no longer his power of attorney. But I needed to become power of attorney for the bank, and that was a whole separate process. So you want to check into that too, being power of attorney at the bank and POD, payable on death. And I would talk to a lawyer about all that, and talk to your bank about those kind of things. They're the things you want to do, the things that are going to make all this smoother as your husband is ill, and whatever might happen down the road, however this is going to play out for him. Be as prepared as you can be, because you're going to go through enough emotions, and you are, and there's going to be more. So anything you can take care of now so that you don't have to deal with it later, I would strongly suggest. And hug your husband a lot, because as you're hugging him, he's hugging you. Yeah. And if you have family members, hug onto them. Ask them for a hug. Like, ask for help. You know, ask. I don't know what your situation is. I don't know how many people are around you. I don't have anyone here around me geographically. It's just me. It's just me. So things would be a lot easier for me to deal with if I had someone here. But please feel free to reach out for me, and I hope anything that I said helped, as much as anything can help this kind of a situation. But I'm just so sorry. I'm so sorry that we have to experience this. But again, thanks for choosing me to ask me this. I feel really honored that you did, and I love you, and you hang in there, and you give hubby a hug, and hopefully he can hug you back, and and maybe I'll hear from you. Okay? You hang in there.